The world is feeling the impacts of the climate crisis.
It's now indisputable that the climate crisis is one of the top security threats, not just to the developed world, but to the entire planet, to life on the planet itself.
To stop this threat to life on the planet, scientists agree that humanity must drastically cut its greenhouse gas emissions that have caused the planet's average temperature to rise. But that's harder than it sounds. Key industries like aviation and manufacturing rely heavily on fossil fuels. And at the moment, it doesn't look like humanity will be able to cut its emissions quickly enough. Instead, governments and companies have set a target of net zero emissions. But what exactly does that mean? It's a simple slogan that represents a big idea. World leaders have agreed that greenhouse gases need to be removed from the atmosphere at the same rate as they are being released. A balance or net zero. More than 70 United Nations member states have agreed to achieve this by the year 2050. And so has Taiwan, one of Asia's biggest per capita emitters.
Therefore, on this critical issue of climate change, Taiwan is determined to join the world in working towards the goal of net zero emissions by 2050.
Taiwan's NetZero Policy has 4 main pillars: transitions in energy, industry, lifestyle, and society. To reach this goal, Taiwan is relying heavily on using renewable energy. The country hopes that using more renewables will also bolster the country's energy security and self-sufficiency in the face of a growing threat from China.
Net zero strategy have an implication in terms of the national security. So they say we can lower our energy dependence.
Around 280 companies account for 80% of Taiwan's greenhouse gas emissions. Important to global tech supply chains, 25 of them have committed to going net zero, largely due to pressure from their international clients. And as some try to expand renewable energy, others are also looking to find ways to remove greenhouse gases from the air. And this is where net zero hits a roadblock. While there are natural ways of absorbing emissions, like through planting forests and improving soils, removing emissions costs a lot, and the technology doesn't yet exist at the massive scale needed. There's also the risk of so-called greenwashing. That's when companies make net zero pledges but turn to offsetting schemes to continue polluting as before.
Commitments to net zero are worth zero without the plans, policies and actions to back it up. Our world cannot afford any more greenwashing, fake movers or late movers.
But is Taiwan on track to meet its net zero goals? The transition to renewables appears to be meeting targets. But when it comes to reducing emissions, reaching net zero by 2050 looks like a steep challenge. Complicating matters, for some people, the rollout of solar and wind farms is happening too fast, creating conflicts over land with a number of local communities. What's more, Taiwan's exclusion from UN climate mechanisms means the country does not face the same international pressure to stick to its net zero goal, nor can it participate in climate negotiations. Meanwhile, the climate crisis is rapidly accelerating, driving disasters across the world. With no sign of improvement, those feeling its worst impacts question the whole concept of net zero. The planet is rapidly heating up, and Taiwan is determined to show itself as a climate leader on the world stage. But its climate action ranks consistently low compared to other countries. So for Taiwan at least, the long road to so-called net zero by 2050 may not be as smooth as it hopes. Chang and Jensen in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.